so high, though. Can you make it? Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, February 8th, 2018, regular meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission. Ms. Henning, would you call the roll, please?
Good afternoon, Commissioner Brenner.
Present.
Commissioner Gladstone.
Present.
Commissioner Murray.
Present.
Commissioner Merrigan.
Present.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Yanni.
Present.
Chair Shepard.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Now, may I have a motion, please, to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda for today's meeting, Thursday, February 8th, 2018.
I'll second.
Very good. Any opposed? Good. We are accepted. This is the time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the agenda is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda, and 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. Before we do that, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from January 18th, 2018?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the
January
January 11th, 2018 regular meeting.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With correction.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I
That's
didn't-
all right, where it says Commissioner Murray,
Which page?
page 2, I think. I may be on the wrong page, but it says something about when we were talking about hiring a social. That isn't a quote, but my main thought was that we be fair and transparent,
Okay.
if that could be entered in, if possible. I don't see it.
Yes, it's halfway down. It's actually the third page, and you said, for the sake of integrity and protecting our integrity as a commission,
Yes.
and what you want to say is that we should be transparent.
Fair and transparent.
Okay, fair and transparent. Okay, will
Thank you.
you correct that?
I'll let Paula know.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
So,
Okay.
do we need to redo that or no?
May
Yes.
I just have a vote to accept
Reapprove.
them as amended?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, now, today's presentation is somewhat unusual. It's really got two parts. The first is, if you remember, at our December meeting, we met Ryan Campbell and saw his plans for a mural at Desert Regional. At the time, the City Council was in the process of redoing the mural ordinance, and I brought with me copies of the new ordinance in case anybody would like to have one. The timelines are different, the fees are different, the number of commissions that are involved are different. This mural was proposed in the middle of this process, and it's not exactly clear what stage of the process we're at, whether we need to formally vote it or simply give our opinion to the City Council or what. In the meantime, because of their timelines, it has been painted. I think some of you have driven by and seen it. The artist and the sponsor know that it is possible under the new guidelines that there could be a fine for not getting it approved first. But if the commission approves, I would like to write a letter to the planning department and the City Council and ask them how they'd like us to proceed. We can go back to the beginning, or we can say this one fell into the gray area when it was being done. So, but I think that we should really look at the mural and give our comments on it. The other thing that's unusual about this mural is that there is a project manager that was hired to oversee the mural, and he's here today also. And I wanted him to explain what he does with public art projects. So, do you want to come up, Warren, and if you would introduce yourselves and spell your names for the, somebody's watching here.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Thank you guys for making the time today. My name is Warren Brand. I'm the founder and president of Branded Arts. I'm going to pass around some cards, and I'm going to pass around some printed materials. We're an organization dedicated to making a positive social impact through the arts. Over the last 8 years, we've managed over 350 public art projects worldwide in over 40 cities worldwide, about over 200 in Southern California. Everything from schools to youth centers to boys and girls clubs. I'm on a variety of different boards. I'm on the board of directors for the Mural Conservancy of Los Angeles. We're the ones who protect and restore the 1984 Olympic Freeway murals. I'm going to pass around a couple more items. We're the ones who painted the LA Memorial Coliseum on the back side of the Coliseum facing Vermont in LA. Here's the latest issue of Smithsonian Magazine, January, February 2018, where they profiled our big project at the Robert F. Kennedy School. So we got several pages in there. Very proud of this project. Shepard Fairey did a 55-foot mural of Robert F. Kennedy with permission from Vicki Kennedy herself. She wrote us a thank you letter. Here's the cover of UCLA Education Magazine in 2016, which talks about the school, front and back cover. And there's our Shepard Fairey mural. You guys may know Shepard Fairey. He's the one who did the Obama Hope poster, the Women's March poster, one of the more prolific muralists living. But we've been very fortunate to work with so many great artists, and this is one of them. This is Ryan Campbell. He's from Palm Springs, and the project that we did in Palm Springs at Desert Regional, I have a few copies of this that we can pass around in terms of where we're at with the project. Here's two, and I'll pass the other one. So this was a project with the organization Covered California to promote their open enrollment, which ended on the 31st of January. So we were on a tight deadline to get this done. This was a full donation from Covered California with permission from Desert Regional. It's important to note that the words are not any kind of slogan or anything like that. Ryan thought of these words, and they were approved by the hospital and everybody involved. Unity through healthcare. Unidad a través del Ciudadano de la Salud. Did I say that okay? I tried. And the idea really is to work with local artists to create impactful, long-standing art pieces in the community. And that's what we'd like to talk about doing long-term with you guys. So I just want to, I think, Ann, you said it best in terms of where we're at with this project. You're going to correspond with people at the city council, correct?
And the planning department, and the new ordinance just got passed on the 24th, so.
So it's important to note that we did spend over $900 for the permit. We spent a couple $100 to get the labels made, which we delivered to planning. Don't know if they've been sent out to the local neighbors yet, but they've been purchased and created. The neighbors, there's not that many neighbors in a, I think it's a certain radius, 500-foot radius of this wall. But it really is a nice spot, and people take pictures of it every single day that visit the hospital. We went by there earlier, and people were taking pictures outside. So funny to note, or not funny, but really incredible to note, is that Ryan's late father-in-law worked at the hospital for 40 years. So he put a small dedication at the bottom left. Pretty special project to everyone involved. And it's our hope that we can continue to develop projects with you all as part of the commission and be a production management ally to work with local city properties, private properties, developments, both city and private, to develop impactful works of art from local and national and international artists really doing things that are special, that make sense within the cultural context of the community. I think that's so important. You know, you don't want to just have someone do what they always do. You want to challenge them to do something that's going to make sense in that particular community that it's in. I really believe that.
Does anyone have any questions before we go on to the mural itself about this? No?
Just thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you.
I would note that I saw the mural application, which was, the fees were paid in early January, and they did charge them the new fee, which is $9.50. So that's, I mean, we're somewhere, not quite to the new ordinance, but in some ways it's changed over, so.
It's a lot. I've registered murals in a lot of different neighborhoods and cities, and it's the most expensive I've ever.
It's half what it was last month. So we're making progress. But
And hopefully we can continue to give artists an opportunity to have art in their community. And, we don't always love filing for these permits, without the right amount of time, but sometimes there's deadlines, and we appreciate your support and helping us expedite this.
And we will we'll get back to you on what will finish this, how to do it.
Great.
According to the rules. When the mural ordinance was being discussed at the city council, several of the city council members said that they hoped that this would encourage more murals. That's why they were happy to reduce the fee and the number of steps that you have to go through. And they admitted, if you read the report from when it was first done, it says the purpose of this ordinance is to discourage people from doing murals, because a lot of people were doing them without going through any process, and a couple of them were not everyone liked, but so it's turned around. The idea is to have it reviewed by this commission, but to encourage people. And the council loved the idea of doing things on like construction fences and other things. So, okay, Ryan, you want to just tell us how it went?
It went fantastic. It was smooth sailing. You can slap my hand now. No, it was really a delightful experience. The visitors to the hospital were very intrigued, I almost want to say involved, because they saw this kind of progressing before their eyes. And I actually had people who would kind of make it part of their daily routine to come and sit with me for a few minutes and watch progress. And what I noticed is that a lot of people going into that hospital are not necessarily going in under the best circumstances, and being able to share a little bit of color, a little bit of light, a little bit of hope with these people, that made a huge difference for me. And as an artist, you always want your work to be well received by the public, and I can say without a doubt that this piece has made a significant impact, I think, at the hospital, and just the overall tone of going to a hospital. It's not quite as harsh. So, and as Warren had mentioned, my late father-in-law was a doctor there for 40 years, and so on a pretty regular basis he would walk by that wall in through those doors. And so for me personally, this project, it was a very personal project. It meant a lot to me to be able to excuse me, create this project in this location. And in addition to the personal note, it's also the fact that I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I've lived in the desert for almost 20 years, and this is my home, and I love it here. And I want to give back as much as possible to this community so that other people come here and they feel happiness, they feel rehabilitated, they feel a sense of welcome and a sense of joy and an excitement to be here and to come see our beautiful city.
Can I love the fact that there's actually a path right in front of it, so
Yeah.
people do get to walk up
Sure,
and see it.
sure.
I don't know if I assume that, and there's an entrance in the image. Is that an entrance to a particular set of offices, or
So,
just a generic?
Actually, that entrance is an exit, and what that building is used for currently is it's an overflow unit for the ICU. So that's actually an emergency exit. So generally, when people are coming out that direct exit, they're usually being wheeled out on a gurney or in a wheelchair and being put into an ambulance or some kind of medevac vehicle. Generally, what they do is that side of the hospital is now mostly used for, I believe, childbirth and maternity.
I remember hearing that.
Right.
New moms get wheeled out too with their
Right.
babies.
So that was kind of a special
that's
thing
sort of
too.
nice.
Expose them
yeah.
to art early.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I sat as I was kind of finishing my last couple of days, and I as I'm working and I'm not really paying attention a whole lot of what's going on around me because I'm really focused on what I'm doing, but I did keep noticing that I would see babies. Every once in a while, it finally dawned on me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where people come to have their babies. So again, that's another special thing. It's not just a painted wall. It's something that, and Warren and I actually got this comment when we were standing there earlier this afternoon that, my gosh, people stop and they take a picture in front of your wall. And that alone for me is an amazing, amazing response. For someone to stop, they've just had a child and they're stopping in front of my artwork to take a picture. I mean, that's about as flattering as it can get. So, like I said,
Actually-
I'm just grateful to be a part of it and to have been able to create this piece.
That's great. And having had 4 children, it's like a photo op. You come out of the hospital with the baby, and they make you go out in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
that's right. So it really
been
will
on
be
the
in a
right.
lot of people's photographs.
Yeah.
Identifying areas of opportunity is something we always do, and we have a big building like that. Wherever we go, we want to find a quote-unquote area of opportunity that is the most impactful, the best for photos. There's so much great landscaping around that wall, beautiful plants, beautiful, a lot of great scenery around it. So I'm always looking at it from an architectural photography perspective, how to frame art within its existing space. I always think those are the best photographers, are the architectural photographers, when it comes to shooting public art, because they understand space. So, as we go out and hopefully do more projects in this community, we want to identify those areas of opportunity.
That's great. Anything else from anyone? My contribution to this, besides a picture of Ryan's mural, was a cartoon that I thought sort of summed
read it.
things up. So
For the
maybe
record,
we'll
is that
paint
it?
all the walls.
For the record, that's Doonesbury, right?
No, right. No.
gotta check this out.
And this is,
Sorry, just a general comment, that I did meet with Ryan. I'm a huge fan of Ryan's work, and we actually met a few days before the first scheduled press conference at Desert Regional. So unaware that he was working on this project with Warren and Desert Regional, I had him on my radar for something that we would be working with him in the future. So I'm very excited to actually see one in place. I had the opportunity to visit while Ryan was painting the mural, and it's spectacular.
well, and
Thank you.
this meeting was the first contact that anyone from the commission had with Ryan, and part of the reason was that the mural was sponsored by Covered California with the permission of Desert Regional, managed by Branded Arts and painted by Ryan. So because Covered California is not local, and because Desert Regional felt that they were just letting the space be used, I think at that point no one kind of knew how to apply. And so we caught it very early because there was a press conference, and they went right down and started filling out the applications, only to find that we were somewhere doing a new ordinance. And this is on the agenda later to report on this ordinance, but I made some copies of what did get voted by the City Council on January 24th. So from now on, we'll have that to refer to
So did they make substantial changes from our recommendations?
Well, there was, there was a moment where it came back from the city attorney with jail time for not applying.
Guys, I can't go to jail.
And now it.
Look at me, come
there-
on. I wouldn't do so hot.
There is the possibility of levying a fine on someone who did not apply ahead of time. However, in the discussion at the city council, several councilmen made it clear that they wanted it made clear in the ordinance that if someone had not applied first and paid the fine, they should immediately apply. In other words, this happened to us a number of times. People applied after the fact, and the only difference is that the city can levy a fine, but they don't want people to think that you have to paint it over, or, you know, the idea is to then go and apply. So you can read it over. They didn't change, I don't think, very many of the things that we, but it went back and forth once or twice to the city attorney and the planning department, and so everyone, but again, the discussion, if you like this sort of thing, you can listen to the video of that meeting, and the city council members were very positive about doing this, and they said, if you launch a project to put more murals and more art installations, they hope we would really publicize it, that, you know, we're sort of open for business as opposed to the mural police. So I think we can try to come up with a plan to do that.
So the main difference from our discussion a couple months ago is the architectural committee is now out of the line of review, right?
Right.
So it does make it a little bit more streamlined.
And the
Okay.
planning commission is out. It's just
Commission,
us,
right, not the planning department.
Right.
Great.
Okay.
Can I just say
Anything-
one thing? I think it's beautiful. I went by it and maybe I was the one taking the photos today.
Thank you.
But I wish it was just on a bigger wall, like, and,
Thank
you know,
you.
on the main drag.
I'll take it.
Actually. So,
Well, thank you very much.
On the other hand, that side of the hospital is very just bleak, sort of, so this is
Yeah.
already something.
well,
I'll
do
tell you.
another one then. Like,
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you what, it's really funny. I was really surprised at how many health workers smoke. And so I would get kind of like this little congregation of about 5 or 6 people that would just kind of hang out and smoke, do their smoke break and like watch me paint and ask me questions. And it was really cool to see that kind of group grow, and then people to kind of talk about it themselves. And it's really interesting what, you know, the power behind public art and the power of just inspiring people.
The next time you do a mural,
Yes.
would you be interested in perhaps some of our young people documenting the process?
Absolutely, 100%.
Like Digicom?
yes,
or,
that would be
you
great.
know.
And
In
you
fact,
did say you took some video, right?
Yeah, we do have some video. We're working on that, and we'll get that out very soon.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to go in and work with the Data Tech Academy kids at Cathedral City High School.
Good,
And have
good.
been working with them in an internship program in my studio. So I have a couple of them coming in every week, a couple of days, and they're involved in a lot more that goes behind the scenes than what you
Right.
see. But yes, they're absolutely
And
involved.
that's the story that we want to get out.
Yeah, and I'm
eventually,
absolutely,
so-
anytime would love to have groups of students or, you know, educators, anyone, come to my studio and see what I'm doing and see what's going on, because I think that's the best way of sharing, is for people to come and see it.
And to your point about youth engagement, it's a big part about what we're all about. Identifying committees, media journalism, publications. It's a really great experience for kids to get to work with a renowned artist and have some stake in it. So when they go by that mural or that installation, they say, "Hey, I had something to do with that." It's a really great way to enrich and empower young people in their community, is through the arts. So,
I agree.
big believer in that.
which is exactly how I got my start as an artist, was going into art studios and hanging out and saying, hey, I want to learn, teach me.
Excellent.
And somebody was crazy enough to teach me.
Well,
We
thank
can
you.
think of that too with programming for next year. Like maybe we could do a studio, artist studio sessions, something.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And there are community centers and schools and various groups. You worked with James O'Jesse. There are groups of kids that could be part of studio visit and follow up.
One more thing, if you guys are interested in seeing any of our projects with the youth, please check out our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/brandedarts. You can see a lot of really great youth activation projects we've done. So there's a couple cool videos in there.
I will say this, and this is just strictly a straightforward, honest, matter-of-fact point. As an artist, I've researched who does what in what part of the world, and what artists make what organizations commission artists, because this is how I make my living. And I will tell you, as sure as I am sitting here, to my left, Mr. Brand is one of the top people in the world, not in the States, but in the world doing this. And it would be a shame if he was not involved in the future projects here, because he's really going to make a big difference and bring us to a really, really remarkable international level, which is what Palm Springs should be and is.
Great.
He's
All right.
blushing.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Very good.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
So, since this is just a presentation, we're not going to act on it, but unless anyone objects, I will write to the city manager, the city council, or whoever it is, to just ask how they would like us to wrap this particular mural up. And then from now on, we have the roadmap. So,
And to avoid any fine.
right. We can certainly ask that they do not do it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. You're welcome to
Thank
stay.
you guys all.
Thank you all
so
so very much.
We got-
Appreciate the time tonight. Thank you guys.
We
Really
got some
appreciate
more
it.
art
It's a pleasure to meet
for
you all.
change.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, just for the minutes, it's the kind of principle with the AL, like the one in school.
Oh, right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That's how I remember it anyway.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
Thanks again.
Thanks. Very fun. Okay. All right. The next thing on the agenda, under new business, is a presentation and proposal by Michael Bernberg for a temporary art installation. And I will let the subcommittee chair, Russell, put some context in it. And Michael, you want to come up and...
Yes,
I would
certainly.
note that we have met Michael before, and we've seen basically the idea, but it's getting close to being
Right. Yeah, we're a little bit more
actionable.
specific on site, location, time frame, sort of all of the above. So we have now a very comprehensive packet from Michael with his CV, past history on installations, the budget, the breakdown, time frame, and all of that. And since our last meeting, I met with Michael Braun at Grit Development. So rather than identifying the Virgin Hotel site, we are now focusing on Site F of the downtown site plan, which borders Museum Way and Bellardo. It's the east, let's see, get my directions, northeast corner. So I will pass around this site map.
Isn't that the Virgin site?
No.
So
This
it's
is-
across Bellardo,
Right.
Yeah, well, I'll pass this map around.
closer to
Closer
the
to
museum.
museum.
This
So that's
location.
west, northwest.
Yeah, it's the property that is the east facing lot above the identified Illuminaire House portion of the downtown park, which is the below grade level fence site, dirt, ready for installation right away.
Or as Michael Braun calls it, the art pit.
No.
Wait, so it's the
That's not the
southeast.
pit? Oh,
No,
you
we
made
call
that
it-
up?
We
Oh,
call it the art
very
pit.
good.
Thank you.
Wait, so that's the southeast corner.
called temporary
Yes,
I think-
southeast corner.
okay.
I think it depends which way you hold them out.
Apparently.
So with this site specifically, as opposed to the Virgin Hotel site, which will not be available for us for use probably for about 4 to 6 months, we want to seize the opportunity to move forward with Michael's installation on Site F, which we would have access to as early as March 1. Michael and I visited the site this afternoon and sort of eyeballed within the space a possible location for it, sort of central in the property, and have just deemed it the art pit because it's sunken, it's excavation, it seems like an appropriate draw for young hip people. Let's go downtown and see the art pit.
I think it's an incredible space. It's
Yeah.
so unique. It's really, I don't know if everyone's seen it, but it's kind of this post-apocalyptic, pit.
Yeah.
It's really something.
Well, and the terrific thing is the combination of the way the space looks and the message that we're presenting with this temporary art installation is the movement, moment, change. And this is the start of it. So if we move forward with this installation, this will be the first of hopefully a few, perhaps on this location. We will also have usage of the Virgin Hotel space. And then there's a third property that Michael Braun is possibly presenting to us for use as well. So we could have 3 specific art locations. But this is the first one. So Michael Bernberg is here to answer any specific questions on the installation, the size, the shape, the construction.
I'm just curious which way it's going to face.
My inclination was to have it facing north along the long end, facing the long end, because it has
Facing the hotel?
not
wouldn't that
facing
be
the
where-
hotel,
Facing
Facing
dirt-
the park
dirt pit,
side.
The dirt pit.
facing the park side. So, because it has the longest kind of angle of viewing.
So
Or perhaps on a slight angle, sort of
I was going to
northwest.
say, yeah,
Ish.
maybe
Yeah.
the corner, because,
Okay.
so I'm not sure how many people walk down Museum Drive yet,
Mhm.
but there's certainly a lot of people on Bellardo going through the,
Yeah, so I think perhaps as we move forward, just discussing perhaps a bit of an angle so that it captures more direction rather than being flat on
Okay.
Museum Way, but that's,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm certainly open to.
Michael is flexible.
Yeah, I'm very flexible.
But I think it's a spectacular piece, and when I met with Michael Braun at Grit Development, showing him Michael Bernberg's presentation, Michael Braun was totally enthusiastic about the look of the piece, the message, the shape, the size, and he's thrilled to offer the property for us this is the starting point.
Something that was neat about the design that I made, which was the original, and we went through 3 different sites, was that now that this one's sunken down, I had this kind of arrow in the change, A of the change. So now it actually kind of even makes more sense because it's sunken in, it's like rising up.
could you talk, Russell, a little bit about what you found out about what sort of easement we need to put something on private property?
Yes, this
And
one
if we
actually
need-
should be a very simple procedure, and that will be what, I've drafted a letter for Grit Development, which they're going to fine tune and have a copy to us. Speaking with planning, we do not need to do an easement with city planning for this. It's just a matter of having the property owner do an authorization letter giving us usage of the property, define the dates, and it gets run through the city manager's office.
And what are the dates you're looking at?
Starting March 1, 2018 through February 28th, 2019, with a possible extension of 6 months.
Okay. Desert X start is up, it will be in February and March of 2019. So we might check with them because that might be a good time to turn the site over to them for their just 3 or 4 months. I mean, it might be fun to have a Desert X piece in this park, so.
Yeah, because I see Michael Bernberg's installation and other future ones having a very flexible, organic install, deinstall period based upon need or specific events.
And have you worked out whether we are buying this piece or, I guess, renting it?
No, it's my opinion is we're commissioning Michael Bernberg to create this piece and lend it to us, rent it to us for the period of the installation. It remains the property of Michael Bernberg. At the end of the install period, he can take it back, do with it whatever he wishes, and or perhaps suggest to us that he gives it to the city as a donation. But we will not own the piece, no.
Okay.
As I see, is moving forward with all temporary art pieces as we do, if we do an RFP for other sites, part of the push would be for artists to either have site-specific pieces that they want to create or pieces that are already made that they just want to install with us. So the arts will always be owned by the artists themselves.
And are there any other requirements from the building department, requirements that a private builder would have to, about how it's secured or anything else?
No, for temporary art installations, just the approval of the property owner to us as the Arts Commission for usage of the property. And with this particular site, there is public access, which I don't think we will enter that real discussion. I mean, we could, but if we're using it as an art pit sunken and so people are just viewing from the sidewalk, then there's no issue of other compliance, whether it's ADA or fire marshals or whomever.
Well, and that, there's a fence all around it, a metal fence that you can see through.
Yes.
Unlike a real construction fence, so it will be visible.
Yeah, it will be completely visible, and there is also, Michael Braun, will give us access to power. So Michael Bernberg's piece will be illuminated, and other art installations that might cohabit the space would also have illumination.
And just on the note of your concerns about its construction of anything, the city's requirements, the team that I'm working with are very experienced. They did 2 of the large fabrication and installations for Desert X. They did the IM piece, which is like the largest art installation in California history. So they're licensed in Palm Springs. I think I might have passed that around earlier, but I don't know if you were here. So they're well responsible for their work, and they're good men. So.
Does anyone else have any questions? I'd like to actually ask Mara to just comment, since this is the first of these pieces, and it's it's between the hotel and the museum. Just what?
Yeah, it seems like a great first project to install there. I think all of the things you described make sense in terms of not owning the work. I also think it's a good model because it seems like the materials will weather fine in this climate, but for other projects we might not want to have something. There are some finishes from some other works, public art works that I know about that just, they don't last in this climate, so I think that's a good idea. And I'd also recommend we consider a slightly shorter time frame for the installation, just so that we can think about next spring, especially as all these ideas and all these processes sort of get going, and there are more.
How about 6 months with an option to renew for 6 months? I think
Or monthly.
what Mara's trying. I think we're just on the verge of sort of having a plan for a lot of things going on. So. And it also could possibly be moved.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm completely comfortable with the variable time frame and adopting 6 months, so March 1 to whatever 6 months beyond is, as long as Michael Bernberg is.
Oh, I'm happy to have 6 months, for sure.
Maybe like 3-month extensions or something like that. So
Yeah.
then if you need the spring, you don't run it into the middle of the spring.
Right.
Yeah, and especially with this one, because I see this being such a spectacular starting point for us for this site, as well as the potential of the other 2 sites coming up, that it puts an art piece in place, so when we do an RFP, other artists can visit the 3 various sites, and they get more of a vision and an enthusiasm about what they could create or what they already have to install in any one of the 3 sites that we'll have access to.
And also, we've talked about this, we've sort of worked around the edges of it, but in response to Al's concerns often, I think that the next one of these installations should be done through a competition, a request for proposals, either by local, state, or national artists, and with a, you know, I don't know, something that we really could consider a range of projects. But again, I think starting with one to sort of kickstart the idea that we want to put art, it's sort
Yes.
of like a mini Desert X.
Yeah,
in a
yeah, I
way.
agree with you 100%.
Yeah, we're open
Very
for
own.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and that's, as I say, I agree with you 100% for all future things, whether it's an RFP or whatever process we use to select future artists. Certainly, and we will get from a greater pool and select that which works the best for our city and our image.
Very good.
So I just had a question for staff. So is this, because we haven't done something similar to this, so would we just be essentially using a model of similar to how we do the art exhibition, where, I mean, we're sort of putting up a temporary exhibition. In this case, it just happens to be outside. I mean, is that the model that we would use to?
Well, it's new to us, so we're kind of thinking through the process here, but I think as the commission thinks through and discusses what direction they'd like us to take, we're happy to see if we can make that work, so.
Right.
Who
Well, as-
insures it?
That's a good question.
Oh, yeah, Grit Development certainly has insurance on their properties, but Michael Bernberg would do a $1 million liability rider for Grit Development. As part, and all artists would have to do that for any installation that we do on public and or private space.
The contractor also has their own insurance for the construction.
That's good. I think, Russell, if you would put this in the form of a motion that we proceed to contracts, whatever, you know, whatever form they take. And the amount is 20,600.
500.
20,500, which is below the $25,000 that we are able to vote ourselves. However, I think that we should tell the city council that we are going to do this. If a permanent piece is done, it clearly goes to the city council, but I think we just need to say we're working sort of in the spirit of more murals on some temporary pieces, and we'd just like them to know, because we don't need their authorization for this amount of money. If we do one that's more than $25,000, we will. So,
Right.
again, this is a good way to start,
Right.
which is under the limit.
Okay, well, how about this for some wordage for a motion? I would like to move to approve temporary art installation titled Movement, Moment, Change by artist Michael Bernberg for installation on Site F of the downtown Palm Springs site plan, Northeast Lot, Museum Way, and Bellardo Road. Budget $20,500. Install period March 1, 2018 for a period of 6 months with possible extension of 3 months.
Sounds good. The
I'll
contract
second.
is, do you say
Louder,
who's
please.
going to install it? This is who the contract would be written with.
The contract would be with Michael Bernberg and his associates.
It would be with actually Eastern Line LLC, which is, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? First, we need a second on the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any other amendments to it or things? Okay. Let's do a roll call vote because we haven't done a project in a while. Okay. Ms. Henning?
Commissioner Gladstone,
Yes.
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Yes.
Commissioner Merrigan.
Yes.
Commissioner Murray.
See,
Commissioner Yanni.
Yes.
Chair Shepherd.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Very good. Thank you, and thank you.
And for the record, motion by Commissioner Pritchard, second by Commissioner Gladstone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah,
And thank you to,
I'm glad we did. I'm glad you were right. I'll be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Thanks.
thank you to Russell for getting us
Yes, thank you.
going on this. Okay, we have a couple of pieces of unfinished business. Who would like to just report on the annual juried art show, and then the where we are on the Cesar Chavez exhibition and the artist in residence?
May I report on the juried art show?
Yes.
Although I had nothing to do with selecting the art or hanging it.
But you enjoyed it,
But
right?
I sat the gallery on this past Saturday. I certainly went to the opening party. Want to commend Jennifer, the stellar job of hanging the show. It looks spectacular. Lots of people through the show on Saturday. Very, very positive results or opinions. People taking pictures of the artist cards so they can get in touch with them. So hopefully there's going to be sales. One woman actually called an artist while she was at the gallery to ask the artist the question if she could buy it, et cetera. So good job.
Very good. How about, I think Ms. Henning could tell us about the Cesar Chavez exhibition, when exactly that happens. And
All right, and just before I get there, going back to the juried art show, here's the program, if anyone hasn't seen it. We had 118 artists submit works. There were 98 artists that were juried in. Marianne Falk, the managing director of Desert X, was our juror. She did an amazing job, such a lovely individual. I'm so happy we had a chance to work with her. And also that she's coming back as part of Desert X. So that's going to be very exciting next year when Desert X launches. But that's another topic. Anyhow, the show is up until February 24th. So if you haven't gone over to see it, I suggest you take a few minutes. If you can, take a look. There's some amazing pieces there. And that's it. So that's that. Moving into Cesar Chavez, the prospectus has gone out to all the students. I'm looking for my calendar. In your packets in front of you, there is a calendar of dates. The opening reception for the Cesar Chavez show will be on March 20th. We have reached out to Congressman Ruiz, and we are trying to confirm that he will be there to give awards and say a few words. I spoke to
What
his
day?
office today.
what day of the week is the?
I'm not sure what day of the week, but it's March 20th, and it will be at the Palm Springs Library. It starts at 6:30 p.m. in the Learning Center. So I hope everyone can make it. And in between that, the Martin Luther King Jr. exhibit comes down on March 1st. So once again, if you haven't had a chance to go over to the library, please, take a few minutes, and I hope you get to see it. We had so much amazing work come in for the Martin Luther King show. So super excited. Too bad we had to, we actually had to jury and make choices, but I guess that's the way it happens.
Did
right?
anyone take photographs of all the works for the Martin Luther King one? Might make a nice.
I definitely have photographs. Al, I know you took photos. I was not at the commemoration event on Sunday, but if you could share some of those photos, I can work with Paula to get them up on the website. And any others you might have. I know you've been great at taking pictures. I have some, but I guarantee yours are better.
that may not be a bad idea to take individual. I didn't take
Yeah,
individual
that's what I was
shots.
thinking. Especially There's not that many for this show.
Oh,
There's
wow.
not 118.
No, there's like 37.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, but it, you know, it might be a nice record of it, since it,
And the food was great.
who did the food?
Spencer.
Spencer.
Oh, nice, yeah, wow.
Man, you made me love these cookies.
That was very nice of them, yes. Please eat lots of Girl Scout cookies. I came home with like 20 boxes.
Please, please.
Okay, and so how is the residency project with, where are we in it?
The residency project, today we actually held a meet and greet where we invited all of the selected subjects to meet us at the school so they could interact with their students that are doing their portraits. We had a really good turnout considering that it's 0 period and starts at 7 a.m.
I know.
So, let's see, Ruth Moyer was there from the Steinway Society, Karen Baroni, Karen Riley, Irene Rodriguez, Bonnie Rutan. I know I'm missing some ladies and I apologize, but several of the ladies showed up. Some of the people that were selected, and I don't have my list in front of me, so I'm going to have to go through this mostly from memory. The ladies that the students selected were Patty Delgado, Barbara Keller, Donna McMillan, Helene Galen, Ruth Moyer, Keisha D., Karen Riley, who else? Bonnie Rutan, Lisa Houston, missing like 3 more, Jackie Autry,
That's a fun one.
Jacqueline Lopez from Congressman Reese's office, and I'm missing a couple, and I apologize. I got through almost all 13.
Very good, that's very good.
But anyhow, those are some of the ladies that have been there, and the portraits are coming along just so beautifully. The students are great to work with. We're working with the artist Sophia Enriquez. She is just absolutely lovely. She was there this morning as well. She's been doing great with the students. Check on Instagram. We've been posting photos of the progress that everyone's making. Also check on Facebook. And on a side note, Sophia also entered a piece in the Juried Art Show and wound up winning first place. So
Very
congratulations
talented.
to
I bought
Sophia.
a jacket that she had painted. She
And
paints
the
clothing.
piece sold. The piece is already sold,
Okay,
so
all
sorry,
right.
folks, it's
Yeah.
off the table. To a local desert collector. But anyhow, the project is going so incredibly well. We're really excited. The opening reception will be on March 8th at
says-
Gallery 500.
It says March 1st, is that wrong?
Oh, you know what? It might be March 1st. I will have to send out an email and confirm that.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to confirm that.
I wrote down the 8th at our last meeting, so is
Yeah,
that
so did I.
So
So,
maybe this is just a
a typo?
typo, yeah.
I'll confirm that.
Okay.
Like I said, it is going to be the very beginning
You know,
part of
it's-
March. So I will absolutely be sure to
Those
get
dates
the
are Thursdays,
correct
though,
date
so that
and
may be
time to everyone, to make sure that you can have it on your calendars. I really hope everyone can attend, because I think it's pretty special.
And it's in the 500 building.
That is
That's right.
correct.
Yes,
That
which
is for sure.
very nice of them
Yeah.
to do that.
If you
Really
haven't been to
wonderful.
that gallery space, I recommend going there. They've done a great job. That building is wonderful. The whole reno on that's been pretty amazing. But we've, such a gracious offer to allow us to use that proper gallery space to display the students' work. So,
And will that be, because that's the same day as our meeting, correct? If that's what the question is, 'cause March 8th is when we have our
it is.
next
Yeah.
meeting, so is it gonna be after, is it an evening event?
It's going to be, let's see, it's going to, you know what, once again, there's been a couple of
Okay.
changes.
Mhm.
because of the students and
Sure.
scheduling. So I will have to come back
Okay.
with a date and
But
time.
it might be, if it could be 5:30 or something, we could, I'll get over there.
You mean
Yeah,
we
it
could,
won't-
make it a point to get out of here and get
Yes,
over
we
there?
can. And I actually
The
have,
one thing
There's
about
that
this
wonderful
project,
coffee place there, right?
yes, right.
we really are, the scheduling really is based around the students. So that's really it. So when we had to schedule this meet and greet at 7 a.m. this morning, it was like, really? But it's just, that's when we can get all the students
Right.
together. So I apologize in advance for whatever time it might be. It's those kids, I tell you. But I will let you know.
Okay. Very good. Okay, I think that's it for all of the unfinished, the ongoing programs. No
Actually, are the pop-up things still on for like April, May? Is that still going strong? Okay. So all the dates on here, May 3rd, May 17th, we're going to be involved with some of those? Great.
And who from the commission is, Tracy, are you sort of keeping in touch with? There were 4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
So here we have, on our list here, we have March 22nd, April 19th, May 3rd, May 17th. And there might be another, is that what you're saying?
And February 15th is sort of a cross-promotional.
Right.
Yeah, with
Black
Ellen.
History Month, right?
Right.
Okay, and if,
I'll double check on that. I thought I saw in something they put out yesterday that there was an additional one that they added.
okay.
But I
If
could be
there is-
wrong.
Yeah, make
No.
sure we get it on the calendar. And if you haven't been over there on a Thursday night lately, it's like mobbed. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Could we, is there a way to, because they're having, I've been to a bunch of those lectures on Thursday nights. Is there a way that, since we provide for the Thursdays, if we could co-sponsor all of them or more of them, or?
We could, and we certainly, I think the signage is better, that the Thursday night is free by virtue of the city support. I don't know, but
My
they
set,
do
just to-
count people, and it's been around 600 average people on Thursday nights, so.
I just want, just in terms of, this started last year, we started actually stepping in and organizing some of the events, right? And so just to, so that started, and then I think we kind of decided maybe we would do 4, we didn't want to do too many, right? So anyway, so this is a pretty ambitious for this year from last, but I'm still not quite clear on exactly what our, like, in the ones that we've done before, we've actually provided people and all that stuff, right? With like the square dancing and everything, right?
Yeah,
So
we kind
there's sort
of.
of a mix now, I guess.
Yeah, we kind of they were going forward anyway this spring with their own schedule that they had already tried to plan having it be kind of our events too. And it was a really good schedule. So,
Right.
I think.
So there's
came-
so there's not a lot of work from the commission's end. I guess that's what the question is, right?
no, we're
'Cause
supposed to be helping promote it and.
Right.
and
I just want to add though that this did come about because we pushed on it. I do want to make that clear. This idea of these short,
Pop-up
short
things,
pop-up
yeah.
things, actually, the educator, Melissa Hempel at the museum, had this really good idea. Well, why don't we work with idea of Warhol and 15 minutes of fame, and so it really. I just want to emphasize it's that they had some artists in mind that they had wanted to work with, but because we were kind of pushing them to try to program on a Thursday, that is actually why it happens. So I think it's a good partnership because they've been really wanting to find different ways to bring in different artists, and I think we'll just have to get a little more just ahead of the game so that we can make sure it's published in also the museum materials, which it is.
It is getting better.
It is. So
And so we
one
could
of the
jump on it for
differences
next year.
is sort of that the ones we've been sponsoring or sort of encouraging have been in the lobby. The idea is to get people in and involved in something, whereas a lecture, you really come for that. It's less serendipity.
Spontaneous, right.
Yeah.
On the one that's May 17th, I've kind of been going back and forth on Instagram with the lady who's the Coachella Valley art scene. They're producing it. So they just did an installation at the Palm Desert Art Museum. So she's extremely excited about that.
This is great.
No,
and I think, we need to keep expanding what we're doing, but not overdo it, which means we've talked about this a lot, about perhaps letting go of one or two things that we've, have gone on for a number of years in order to do these new ones.
I just thought, so did we do a card, or are we doing a card?
For this
Did we
spring?
decide against a card?
No, I never received all the information on time, so, there's a mock-up, but since, I never went forward because I didn't have the complete information for all the programs that were not happening. So, and I didn't want to.
Meaning like the pop-ups?
This is kind of a segue into, instead of printing and mailing cards, we've all talked about using more on social media, and there's more on the city's sites, but what we talked about at the last meeting was having someone help us figure out what our goals are for social media. Where do we want to be so that we're attracting more people? So I think if we go on to the next item, which is the work that Commissioner Brenner did to find someone as a consultant on really being effective with social media and making sure that all these wonderful programs get photographed, and then we do something with the photographs. So do you want to tell us?
Yes, so last month, we started this conversation, and it goes back to, I'm just so impressed in the year that I've been here, the progress that we've made, not only with our partnership with the Art Museum and creating the pop-ups and really making that happen. And I was going to make it during my commissioner comments, but I'm going to make it now. Just hats off to Ms. Henning for the juried art show. I was involved much more last year when I wasn't chairman of the committee than I am this year, that full-time work. But I was blown away with the quality of the work there. It is so impressive. It is beautifully hung. You have to make time to go see it, and just congratulations. It was very impressive. And the other thing that I wanted to share is, in talking to a number of the artists, they were so excited to submit because of the caliber of the jurist and to have that opportunity. So again, kudos in bringing her in, because I think that again brought the show up to just a whole new level. So we're doing these amazing things, and yet we're still not getting the eyes on it and letting the community know. And last meeting, I had brought the idea of bringing on, actually the name of her company is The Very Best Services, Madalena Garza. And I think at this point, everyone but Commissioner Gladstone has met her. She has, even before she was brought on, come to the events. She is very, very excited about being brought on. I think there was some issue as far as this is a very short-term contract. It's 5 months. It will carry us through the rest of the season. Once it is finalized, the first thing that we'll sit down is coming up with goals, and she does want to speak with each of the commissioners to kind of get feedback from them, but having sort of a clear path of what we want to see, so it will be quantifiable at the end of that 5 months, so we can determine from that, yes, this is something that we do want to continue with, and then even figure out if it's going to be broader than opening up the process so that it is always very fair and very transparent. I did get word just before I came here, there was a question about some paperwork that she needed to finalize that is with the city now. So my understanding is she will be able to go forward. I think the question that I have for staff is what will be the ability to access and how does the process work? And I'm not expecting you to necessarily have this answer, but so as she creates content, we had created the Facebook site before the city had one that we certainly have access to that's very simple for us to give her access to. But if she is going to be also posting on city Instagram, city Facebook, how does that process work?
I would say through Ms. Henning, yes?
Possibly. I'm not sure. I don't post on the social media, so, and my understanding was most of that ran through our public information officer, public affairs officer.
But
who
we now
discussed
have
last
our
time.
own
But
Instagram
for,
account, right?
oh, for the staff one, yes, that one, I'm not sure, so.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're
we'll-
going to
we
have
can
to.
find
Maybe you
out, yeah.
can get
Right.
the three of you together and
Yes,
figure it out.
absolutely. So that's going to be something that we need to figure out. But she, including artists in residence, she wants to go do interviews, mini video. One of the things, I'm not good at social media, and I don't understand this stuff. And my Facebook feed now says I'm only to see things from 25 people. I don't know if you could, there's a new
to-do
algorithm.
going on,
So
right.
there's all this going on. Well, she was even explaining to me, oh yes, what we need to have is more video, more of this kind of content. This is going to help. And again, it's something that is very quantifiable. We know from day one, this is how many followers we have, and we'll know if that, if we're actually able to, or we're reaching out, and hopefully that reach out will also show up in attendance to our events and involvement, those kinds of things. So I don't know if there's an action that needs to be taken at this point, or this is, my report is, my understanding is that she will be coming on board under contract for the next 5 months. And I will be working with her, getting her in touch with the city, and then also she will be contacting each of you to get feedback from you as far as what your ideas and thoughts are, so we can do goal setting. So when we come in next month, and she would very much like to be here to answer questions, and we can move forward from there.
Did you tell her about the 7 a.m. classes? She
Yes,
signed on?
yes, but I see, I have to be at work at 5 a.m. on some days, so I really am not gonna.
Okay, all right.
It's
No
all
sympathy
relative.
from
So,
that.
any questions?
She is accessible, approachable, available. Kudos to you. I invited her to our Black History Month Gala.
Oh, for sure.
At the Hilton. She was there, so was Tracy, thank you. She knew some of the people there. In addition, we're having a Black History Month art exhibit at the museum this Sunday at 2. If you're there, we're having some of the works of Mark Bradford and Richard Cohen, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer who photographed the Ferguson riots. We'll have some of his works there, and a few other artists, Kentura Davis. I think she teaches at Yale now. But she's on it.
She's on it.
She's on it.
That's great.
You know?
That's great. And, none of us do this very well, but we can, some of us have reposted things that other people have done. And interestingly, I think the best poster is Bonnie Rattan, who's not a commissioner anymore, but she takes pictures of everything and puts them up, and Al does, and everybody's on Facebook but Tom, but I don't know, maybe we so
I just had a question. So
Yes.
this is the publicity and outreach committee, that's subcommittee or whatever?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I would, items number 6 and 7, we've actually touched on in the discussion about Michael Bernberg, and some of the other installations are just not ready to be talked about. And I've reported somewhat on the mural ordinance and given you the revised one. So
I just
for
had
my-
one question for
Yeah.
number 6, the sites and installations. I just did want to check in.
Oh.
I was looking at the minutes from last month at the very, very end on page 8. It mentions our favorite John Clement sculptures. And I understand there's been some movement or on those.
You want to report?
I've been told that
They've been moved?
I've been told that they're now considered abandoned by the city attorney, and so and we can do whatever we want. And we should move them and we should paint them. And I think if we are changing the site, we should inform the city council and just ask them. It's as though we had a new work. But from what I understand, there's no reason not to proceed with it. Okay, so I
No?
think it just needs a staff report to say where we'd like to move it and
Okay,
and
okay.
get it painted and.
And we had checked with the city attorney, and we didn't get any definitive information back at this point, so kudos to
Okay.
you for
Well, was it-
having that.
I understand he's been very overwhelmed with questions, so.
The
it might
pieces
been-
have been painted.
Oh,
They
good.
were
Good.
painted before the film festival, so
Oh,
after
good.
Christmas, they were all painted.
Oh, good.
Lovely. In
So
any
anyway,
case-
so it's still
okay.
in limbo. Basically, we don't know.
We're
Okay.
sorry. We will have to double check. If the word is they're abandoned, there's a process for that, so we'll follow up on that.
Thanks.
Um,
Anyway, that was my only comment for
Okay,
E6.
So, the next item is my report on what I've been able to learn so far about the downtown park, which is not a lot because this ad hoc committee isn't going to meet till the end of March, or sometime in March. But I have, you can call this my report or my commissioner's comments. I have an idea. First of all, for some of you who may not have seen it, this is the art ordinance, public art ordinance that created the commission and the fund. And if you look at the date on it, when it was amended, it's, I don't know where it is, but it's 40 years ago. So I thought, since we have so many ideas boiling up, what if we tried to do an anniversary celebration for public art in Palm Springs? And I'm proposing the date of October 11th because it's during National Arts and Humanities Month. It's
That's great.
the Art Museum night, it's Village Fest. And by then, perhaps we will have some new art to dedicate, and it's like the Mermaid. I don't know if it'll be done before then. Perhaps some kind of an interactive event. Perhaps a new interactive map or a walking tour or a history of public art in Palm Springs, and sort of like spring cleaning and move anything we're going to move and paint anything. So I would like to propose, because this is, there's so many things we could do, but that might tie together all this. I'd like to know if everyone would be willing and available to have a study session on the 22nd. I just picked, it's a Thursday also, where we can, as long as we put these ideas on the agenda, we can discuss them a little bit more free form. And I thought it might be fun to have it at the Desert Arts Center if it's available.
I have a quick question. Are we on commissioner comments?
Well, it's it's sort of the end of my report on how this fits into the downtown park.
Okay,
or
so we're
commissioner
skipping, are we
comments.
skipping murals? So we're
'Cause
not,
we
we have
did-
no report
we-
on murals.
Right.
Okay, so there's no report on murals, and so now we're talking about the ad hoc downtown park
Right.
committee? Okay.
And so part of sort of the last stage of this process of getting art downtown and making some fuss about it and much more social media and a history or whatever would be along the way to finally find out how we can integrate into the public park. There is supposed to be a meeting of all the commissions that have anything to do with the park, like the Park Commission, which hasn't been part of it yet. So, anyway, this just was some thoughts. If you can think of other things that you think would be worth talking about.
Would this be like a launch of a whole year? Like launch it in October?
We could segue into what, our sort of new plans.
Yeah, I think
then.
it's really awesome.
I think-
I want to do the study session.
Yeah, is the date pretty much okay?
There
Can
are-
we see if we can have the Desert Art Center, and then we can
The
admire the
22nd?
juried art show just before it goes away.
Oh, that's a
Will the
good
time
idea.
be our usual meeting time? Would it be 4 o'clock?
I think so, unless.
If
that
it's 4
seems
o'clock,
to-
yeah, that works. Anything earlier would
Yeah,
not be able to.
no,
do
that seems to work.
The next day, on the 23rd, the park designers are actually giving a modernism presentation on the park
Oh, right, yes.
from 12 to
The
3.
thing is,
12 to 2:30.
I'm not sure that they've changed it since the last time they gave a presentation. I think a lot more people would like to see it. But I think we still have a Luminaire House, and we have Maryland, and we have, but we don't have how we can put some art in it that's part of the infrastructure or part of the design or a playground. I mean, just all these ideas we've been kicking around, and we're gonna try to keep offering to work on whatever their plan is, to then add what we can to it. But it's gonna take, they're talking about starting construction in 2019, and I think it being ready in early 2020. So the notion of temporary is very, very elastic. Does anyone else have any things? I thought along the way we could talk about how social media could be part of this.
And like structuring next
Should be at the
year.
meeting, study session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else they would like to put on the agenda for it?
Well, let me just interject, if the Desert Art Center is not available, my studio can accommodate all of us.
Do we have to have
I
a
don't know if
public?
that's
Yeah,
possible.
can it accommodate the public? It needs to be, actually,
Oh,
it needs to
okay.
be in a public meeting place.
Not a problem.
But we'd love to come to your studio sometime, thank
The
you.
public is
Yeah.
welcome.
3 at a time.
The public is welcome. The study session is public.
Yes, sir. We have to play, I was just gonna say that I need all the agenda topics, by next Tuesday at 5 PM. So we can then review the topics, get them to the city manager, have agenda approval, and it will need to be an agendized meeting.
So the first thing on the agenda would be the plan for a 40th anniversary celebration. And I think the commissioning of temporary projects, in other words, are we going to have some sort of a competition? Are we going to have, I mean, I think that's a good time to hash that out. And the third one is really, well, I'm not sure, it might take another study session to figure out how to coordinate with the downtown park. It just depends on their timeline.
Can we also add to our agenda for the study session how to kick off some sort of promotional campaign for our mural
Yes, okay.
ordinance?
And I think, it wouldn't have to be limited to just the murals, but definitely the city council did say they hoped that we would publicize the new ordinance.
Yes,
So-
we need to figure out how to do that.
So should we ask Madalena to come to that meeting?
I think that would
Okay.
be great, and maybe she can just, when she hears what the plans are, she could help us figure
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Okay, so it's, should we just call it a, public campaign or a,
Publicity,
publicity,
awareness,
Mural
public
program
awareness, public
publicity,
awareness.
yeah.
or, yeah, publicity and awareness. Oh, and if you look at what's in the packet, there is the mission statement that we passed in June 2016, which talks a little bit more about the kinds of programs we're talking about that that have more engagement with the art on the part of the public. And if you look in the ordinance on page 3 and on page 4, number 7, establishment of this public arts program will promote the general welfare, no, that's not it. It's number 8. It's the perfect, wait a minute, where is it? It says public arts, I mean, a public campaign. Now I've lost it.
Page 4.
Well, if you read those, I mean, there's lots of different ways of saying that the purpose of having art in public places is to engage the public. So if you know, it's sort of interesting to read this. I hadn't read it for a while, and it does, for example, say that up to $25,000 we can spend that on our own, and anything more than that needs to go to the city council. So,
Okay, so back to the study session agenda, so we want to have the discussion of the 40th anniversary, possible 40th anniversary celebration, a discussion of temporary projects in downtown Palm Springs, and a discussion of promoting the new mural ordinance and its requirements. Is that all of them? 3 things?
Could we
But
add,
with
could we
social
add
media
maybe,
content or goals?
is that included with,
That would be
Oh, just-
separate from the you're talking about generally, right, as
Oh, yeah,
opposed to
for the
just
agenda, for the
specifically
study
to,
session,
for the
specifically
agenda.
talking about setting goals for the social media.
yeah, I think
So-
that's a good idea.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, because Madalena will be there.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And I'm,
And
and
it
then
could go
Tracy, what do
just,
you-
maybe some like overview, like very overview planning for next year, like just big
yeah,
picture.
so
something like that.
preliminary planning for
Like-
18-19.
Yeah, and I would recommend that in that study session, after if we make plans, then it can be sent to subcommittee. So, you know,
Right.
as we
Right.
talk about that, okay, who's going to take that on? So that when we walk out and we kind of have an idea, this is what we want to start thinking about for next year. Because, you know, we got into that a lot when we were in our meetings about the exhibitions and the fact that this year is really done and the kinds of things that we want to see for next year, this is the time to start talking about them now. So what I would like to see coming out of that from each of these agenda items is then it's moved to a subcommittee to sort of be their
right.
hashed
Yeah,
out. So
moving
maybe
it forward.
each subcommittee chair makes sure that they have whatever it is on that agenda to get the input from all of the commission to sort of be their marching orders for the year, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
And I think we should have a goal of, by like the meeting in, let's say, June, to have the plan for next year, before things sort of slow down for the summer.
before all of you leave me here to sweat by myself and go to the meetings. Okay, well, Russ.
Well, you have no sympathy for us at 5 a.m., so we have no sympathy. All right, so just to go back to the, I think that's probably enough, right? Because
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
so 40th anniversary discussion, temporary projects in downtown, mural promotion, social media goals, and preliminary planning for 2018, 2019. Okay?
And maybe we can.
So we're good, so we don't need to, we don't need to go through that again, right? That
You got
agenda
it.
can go ahead and be made?
Yep, I
Okay.
have all those
Okay,
items.
perfect.
If there's anything else that anyone thinks of between now and next week, just email me and we can get that on.
So what do we, is it 7 days for study set, or is it that we have to get it
It's
out?
the same 72 hours,
Okay.
but since we always try to get it out on Thursday,
Right.
the week
Is it just-
before, we have until Monday at
Right.
4 p.m. prior to the meeting, as long as we're keeping it on Thursday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
I will double check, we'll confirm with the Desert Arts Center that there's space available for us on Thursday, the 22nd at 4:00 p.m. If that is not available, I'll check here at City Hall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be more
So-
fun to
Yeah.
be there. for
I agree.
certain.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great.
And we could have, like, we could end up at the Chicken Ranch and have, have dinner. We are allowed to
Mara and I
actually
eat
have.
there like 5 times a week.
Really?
Wow.
Is there any further,
So just to
commissioner
confirm,
comment?
so that's February 22nd, Thursday at 4, so everyone's okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, and I will confirm the location.
perfect, thank you.
Sounds great. Okay, any other, commissioner comments or requests or reports?
If you're talking to someone on the phone and they happen to say, "Oh, we're doing a mural at our business," does every
That's how we found out about they had a whole press conference. They didn't just talk on the phone.
so do you say, "Oh, did you get your
Right.
mural approved?"
Right.
So every mural.
One of the things that was added to the mural ordinance at the very last minute, due to a letter that someone wrote to Jeff Coors, and he asked me, and I went back and I looked at the original definition of a mural. This writer was concerned that if someone wanted to put something on the side of their house on a single-family property, would that count? So, in the definition of the mural, at the top of the mural ordinance, it says that are visible from the public right-of-way.
Okay.
So there are murals on people's businesses or houses or something that, and the person who wrote was concerned that, what if you did a mural inside, or what if you did one, on your porch or something. So it is meant to be on spaces that are
Public, right,
public.
right, okay.
But if someone, like a restaurant, is putting it on their back parking lot,
Yeah.
they should apply.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
you can tell
That's
them
what it
that
kind
it
of
is
sounds
now,
like. It's a parking lot.
it
wall.
costs half as much as it did, and it can be done probably within the time span of the next meeting of this commission. It doesn't have to then wait another month for another commission and another commission. I think Lulu's took 6 months because they were very good about doing everything, so. But now, you can tell them that now there is a fine if you don't apply. So that's what the city council wanted to do, but they also really wanted us to drum up some more murals, so.
So I
Yeah,
just,
this could be a cool thing. I won't say who it, they're behind on their schedule. They're not even close to having a mural yet. So I'll just reach out to them and tell them.
Okay.
I wasn't quite sure what to tell them, so.
I don't know if there's new forms yet that say the lower prices.
I don't believe so, but at least the ordinance might be good to share with them so they have all the information they need there.
And if you, if they go to the planning department, there is a form, and that will tell you, you know, various letters that you need with it, and permission from the owner of the wall. Sounds like fun.
So I just had a commissioner comment. I just wanted to add my thanks to everyone for participating. I thought it was great that we had so many people, because this is my 3rd year, and it just seemed to me that there were far more entries than we've had in the past, so that was really refreshing to see, which of course made it a really difficult installation. And again, you did a terrific job, Jennifer, on hanging all the pieces and lighting them and everything, so it looked really good, and the vibe was really nice that evening, I thought. And so, anyway, so that was great, and I just wanted to add on my last comment on that, even though everyone else has said it, but it was a nice event, and again, it makes me glad that we're still doing it, you know, because there was some, you know, we skipped a year a few years ago, and there was some disappointment, but I think having done these 3 years, it's something that people really enjoy, and I think I'm glad that we're continuing to make the commitment to it, so.
It was a scene that, I mean, it was crazy trying to park. And it had really great energy, and you did an amazing job emceeing, so congratulations. And the mayor was so enthusiastic. He gave very enthusiastic remarks. But he said we were all from the Palm Springs Art Museum.
I know.
He does love the museum.
I know,
He
that
used to be a docent, and he's a big supporter of it. So.
But it looked beautiful, and the art was great. I enjoyed picking out my commissioner piece.
Now you have to buy it, you know.
The only comment someone made was more space and be able to put in bigger art.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked great. So I thought
We can
a lot
talk
of-
about
are-
that. I get, you know,
right.
we can have
Though
a conversation.
There are
in the
other,
committee, a subcommittee.
other juried art shows, other groups do them, and, you know, this one,
I think ours
it's
is
always been
different,
kind
right?
of focused.
Yeah,
and-
but you don't have to be a member. It's open to anybody in the public.
Right.
It's open to people in the entire Coachella Valley and the high desert. So there is like a little niche, you know, that it
Right.
fills just distinct from other jewelry shows in the
Right.
desert.
But,
So.
you know, the College of the Desert and other places have much more space, and they do a lot of these. And this is a building that belongs to the city, which is nice, and it's an art center, not just the library or some of the other spaces. So I think moving it would be a shame. It wouldn't have the same.
Or maybe take over more of their space. It was so great to have the sculpture there too, so I really
It's very
appreciate
good.
it.
Well, I was sorry to miss it. I was at a memorial service. I would have much rather been here.
So report of director staff?
Do you have anything you would like to report?
No, just on Tom, what you were saying about the show. We have not had this many entries in several years, so it's great to see that people know, artists know that, you know, the show is back. And also, what's very encouraging is that there were several young artists and new artists that had not applied before. And they had shared that with me, and, you know, we had a moment to chat, but it's wonderful to see a new crop of artists who have moved into the valley and hearing about this and putting works into the show and participating and looking into becoming members of the Desert Art Center. So I mean, I was very encouraged and very happy to see that. So.
Well, you did a great job. Thank you.
Just before we finish, Is there anything else we need to do to get a contract for Michael Bernberg? Do you have all the information that you need, right? Did you got his CV and all those things, right? But we need a contract. Who drafts the contracts? The city attorney?
I'll defer to Ms. Henning on that. I think we do have agreements for temporary installations, but let me have Jennifer.
Yes, typically I handle those contracts, so,
Okay.
and we have, we didn't mention it before, but we've done temporary installations on several occasions, at least the past, more than a decade that I've been here, and I know before that, but I've done several
So
temporary installations.
You have a sort of a template you could use.
We have a standard city contract that we use and provisions that we typically
That's-
require, so.
Okay, well, if you can, because they want to start on March 1st, so we ought to see if we can get a contract and the easement, or whatever we're calling it, the permission. And I know that the city will want to see the insurance from, who is insuring it.
So for the process, Jennifer, will you just reach out to me or to Michael for any ingredients for that contract that you need?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're adjourning to our study session, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to read it? You're so
I'd
good at
like
this.
to make a motion.
Let me just,
That
if I
we
could just add one
adjourn.
more thing,
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
that last night, the city council selected liaisons for each of the commissions.
Oh.
And the liaison for this particular commission, drum roll, is Mayor Moon.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
What does that mean exactly? What is that?
That
Is he gonna come
means,
to our meetings?
He's not required to come to the meetings, but he is the direct line to the council should
I see.
commissioners feel they need to communicate more with the council.
very good.
Oh.
Well,
We're, okay, terrific. Okay, so now I'm ready to adjourn to our next meeting, which is a study session to be held on Thursday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. at a location to be determined. I guess that's it. Right.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you.